everyone, my name is Putty, and welcome back to another edition of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. This is The Clash. This is the final show before where it all begins again next month at the Speedway, the 5,000 capacity racecourse arena that we have ran now twice. Once, of course, last year in our big going regional show. And then we were running it again this year. The main event already confirmed to be Ernest Youngman taking on the number one contender, the return of the monster, James Diaz. But we also had confirmed after the last show, mid-month, on the Mid-Atlantic website, that George Wolf will be taking on Logan Wolfsbane, and Papa Dan will be taking on Robin DeLay as Team Progress implodes. Also tonight we will determine a number one contenders match that will happen at where it all begins again, because Scythe is going to be taking on the returning Froth Shore, and Davis Wayne Newton will do battle with American Elemental, and the winners of those matches tonight will go on to a number one contenders match at where it all begins again. Big stuff happening tonight. Big stuff happening at the Clash. Lots of build to come for where it all begins again. Let's do it. We kick us off with Ernest Youngman defeating Johnny Needham, of course, one half of the Heartbreak Express. Ernest Youngman has good chemistry with Johnny, as he tends to have with pretty much everyone. And, of course, a good match to start us off as Johnny Needham tries to bring kind of that heelish edge, kind of isolationist tag team wrestling, trying to pull Ernest to one corner of the ring, as of course he does in his tag team matches. But Ernest, just too powerful a technical wrestler, too good a wrestler in general to be caught off by such things, and with a wink and a nod to the crowd, locks in every single technical wrestling maneuver you can think of, going hold to hold and limb to limb, working down every single limb that Johnny Needham has, controlling the match as he tends to do, because he is the wrestling machine. He is the best there's ever been. He is the assassin of the squared circle, and as he is prone to say, giants may fall and diamonds may fade, but Ernest Youngman is forever, and the future goes through him. And tonight, indeed, he picks up the victory with the hit. Oh no, he's getting stale again. Right. We move on as Dewey Archer successfully dominates a match with Shane Nelson. Shane Nelson trying to use just some generic American-style brawl grappling, as I like to call it. I forget what my official term was back in the day, but of course mixing in some throws with a few submissions and a punch or two. Meanwhile, Dewey Archer, that focused, legendary technical wrestling style, going from hold to hold, one of the greatest technical wrestlers we have here in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling in the day, trained by the legendary Sam Keith, and locking in that legendary Proton Lock to pick up the victory over Shane Nelson in 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Good stuff from both men. But after the match, Dewey Archer gets on the microphone and says, I lost the battle for the Mid-Atlantic, that I will concede, but Mid-Atlantic management, they have to recognize that I am one of the most must-see superstars in the history of this business, and I have won almost every single match I've had this year, and still, they're not even putting me in one of those two number one contenders qualifying matches later tonight. They're not even booking me for where it all begins again, even though I put so many butts in those seats, even though I am the biggest draw this company has ever had, even though I am the best in the world. And you won't even book me. I need a worthy opponent. I need to be shown to the world. Showcased. That way you will sell more tickets. You will get more eyeballs than you have ever had before, because they are looking for the local celebrity. They are looking for the guy, the greatest technical wrestler in the history of planet Earth. Over and above anything Sam Keith ever did. You're looking at the architect, Dewey Archer. Now come out here, boss man, and confirm to me that I will have my worthy opponent. And Bossman comes out and says, Dewey, you're right. You're right. You should have a worthy opponent at where it all begins again. You should have a great wrestler, so that you can finally test yourself on the grandest stage. I'll tell you, Dewey, you're right. You did come up short last month, but you're right that you're right up there at the top of the card. You're right up there, waiting for that title shot, and maybe it is time for you to ascend, and maybe we should give you that opportunity. So we will give you a chance to earn a future Mid-Atlantic Championship shot if you can beat at where it all begins again. The legendary Mexican superstar, Mr. Lucha! Mr. Lucha debuts on Mid-Atlantic Wrestling, and we will have an absolute star-studded match. A special attraction match at where it all begins again. Two sensational technical wrestlers, former South of the Border superstar Mr. Lucha and Dewey Archer. Huge match there. As we head to the interview area, Sweet Tabitha asks whether Gary Walker is nervous for his debut, and he laughs and says, Nervous! Nervous. It has been everything on my mind since the start of the year. You know, I used to have a grudge. I used to have a rivalry on comms with Logan Wolfsbane. He used to demand my respect and demand my attention. Well, it's time for me to crave that respect. It's time for me to crave that attention. It's time for me to earn my stripes. Because I look at Logan Wolfsbane and think there is a better way. Well, if I can't do it, then I have no right to say that. So I'm getting in the ring. On October 12th, I'm getting in there with El Pavo Real. I'm making my in-ring debut. And if I can't do it, then I had absolutely no right to criticize Logan Wolfsbane. So I want to fight. I want to claw. I want to scratch my way to the top and show that there is a better way. That heroes do exist. So I'm going to fight hard. I'm going to try hard. God damn it, if it kills me, I will make it to the top. Papa Dan infuriated and absolutely fired up takes on Stuntman, who tries to mix things up. Of course, he's getting a Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championship shot next month, along with his partner Acid. Tries to mix things up with a big, high-flying, devil-may-care, Valhalla-style professional wrestling match, putting his body on the line, but Papa Dan is infuriated. Papa Dan is fired up. His Team Progress, not his, but, a team that he loves is being imploded. His best friend, George Wolf, his baby, is breaking apart. And all he can do is sit and watch. So tonight he takes it out on Stuntman and picks up the victory with the Ghoul Bulldog. And indeed, James Diaz, I almost said James Martin. James Diaz also on a winning streak as he heads into his Mid-Atlantic Championship shot. Earl Martin, the fast-talking LA lifestyle. Fast-talking, fast-wrestling. Guy who couldn't quite fit it in SWF comes tonight and does try to use that fast-paced, high-action style to put James Diaz off his game. To put James Diaz in an uncomfortable situation. But James Diaz, the return of the monster, is on one of the greatest winning streaks of our fine business. He's on one of the greatest dominating streaks of our business, and indeed tonight he continues to dominate. Physically better, faster, stronger, everything you can expect from a guy like James Diaz as he builds up that momentum, the bull in a china shop, and just brutally destroys Earl Martin. A good performance from Earl, but James Diaz is absolutely unstoppable. And in our first number one contender qualifier match, Froth returns, and we have a brutal match with Scythe, as Scythe does his usual loving pain, smiling at every hit Froth throws at him. But Scythe keeps battering, keeps beating, keeps working Froth down. But we see a different edge from Froth tonight, because Froth, he seems to have that fire in his eyes. He seems to be angry. He seems to be aggressive, and every time Scythe beats him down, he slashes at Scythe's legs, trying to take the monster down, and Froth, working from underneath, powers up against the big man, keeps fighting against Scythe, and tonight Froth has that extra fire, that extra passion, that extra edge that he needs as he fights back against the big man. Scythe's taken out some of the greatest legends in Mid-Atlantic wrestling history, but tonight Froth will not be another victim as he powers out of every single move that Scythe tries to put on him. Fights back, guillotine chokes, massive submission maneuvers, trying to work down the big man, and in the end he locks in that Coastal Zone California clutch, and the monster fades. Scythe passes out, and Froth is going to where it all begins again. But after the match, Davis Wayne Newton comes out and gets on the mic, and he seems smarmy. He seems to smile. Even though he lost his Mid-Atlantic Championship match last month, he's happy for some reason. And he gets in the ring. Fro is exhausted. He's tired. He's fatigued. And he sits in the middle of the ring, does Fro, and trying to take in the victory. But Davis Wayne Newton, who of course is in action next against American Elemental, looks down at Fro, gets in the ring, gets right up in his face and says, back so soon, Fro? I thought you had some stuff to take care of. I thought you were going to get your house in order. Surely that can't be done already, Fro. Huh? So what gives? Why are you back so soon? Oh, could it be that it... Oh, did it not work out, Fro? Did it not work out? Is there no house to get in order? Oh, that's so sad. Fro begins to look up in pure vitriol and anger at a man he used to consider his friend, and as Davis Wayne appears to carry on to some sort of vitriolic ramble and rant, Fro just slaps the taste out of his mouth. Absolutely vicious slap to the face of Davis Wayne and knocks him through a loop, sends the microphone flying, and Fro Shore just heads to the back, fuming and aggressive. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for our main event of the evening, and in the 71C+, Davis Wayne Newton defeats American Elemental with his STF, a mixture of the high-flying action we get from American Elemental mixed in with those technical basics, that fluid Japanese junior-style technical wrestling that we have come to love from American Elemental, of course, inspired by Elemental, his mentor, inspired by those, honestly, by those world-level wrestling guys like Americana. I guess, yeah, actually, Elemental is not American Elemental's mentor. The original American Elemental would be, who, of course, have a different style. You know, we back in the 80s, back in the 90s, back in the 70s, we had just high-flying Japanese juniors. But since then, especially since since Normal Elemental 2, we've started to move towards a technical basis, a technical ground game. Optimus was the guy who really pioneered that. And indeed, Americana and Americana 2 are two of the most excellent examples of it. American Elemental is an absolutely amazing technical wrestler, and he goes toe-to-toe there with Davis Wayne Newton, who of course has that Canadian-style technical wrestling, the Sean McFly, even though he's not Canadian, but still, he spent a lot of time up there, the Sean McFly style of, Sean's not Canadian, Davis is, style of technical wrestling with a smile, that charisma, but tonight, it's changed, tonight that charisma is channeled in the aggressive way, in the bastard way that we know Davis Wayne is capable of. But tonight it wasn't cheating. Tonight there wasn't any corners cut. Davis Wayne Newton was just better. Because, you know, through all the myths, through all the hatred, through all the red mist that we've seen from Davis Wayne Newton over the last couple of months, he is a great wrestler. And tonight, for the first time in months, we see it. As he out-wrestles American Elemental, and he picks up the victory with that STF. And he's going to where it all begins again, to face his former best friend, Fro Shore. Thank you all for watching The Clash. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Check out the rest of the series. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're feeling especially generous, there's a link to my Patreon in the description. If you want to hear me ramble, there's a link to my Twitter in the description. That's the fastest I've ever done an outro. Next episode, it all begins again. Davis Wayne Newton takes on Fro Shore for a future shot at the Mid-Atlantic Championship. Dewey Archer is able to earn 1-2 if he defeats Mr. Lucha 3. Logan Wolfsbane will take on George Wolf. Papa Dan will take on Robin DeLay. Gary Walker debuts. Scythe will make an appearance. And in our main event of the evening, Ernest Youngman takes on the one, the only, the return of the monster, James Diaz. Big show. Don't miss it. I will see you guys then.